It's a pleasant world we live in, a very pleasant world. But there are also bad people in it, but if there were no bad people, there would be no good lawyers. End of quote, and the author is Charles Dickens. Some people say that the subject of law can be boring. Well, having a lawyer to accompany me on the Viamia show doesn't have to be a boring time.
The Viamia show is sponsored by the following people.
Recording, rehearsal space, voiceovers, video editing in Westminster. For more information, fiascobros.com. Cuts and colors in Uptown Westminster. We welcome our stylist, George of Salon Caliente. For appointment, call 604-544-5104. Private investigations, security and alarm systems since 1972. For more information, call 604-251-2121. Makeup services for television, movie, and photo shoots. For more information, visit victoriawan.com.
As per law, I wanted to combine it with something that I cling to the most, and that is the entertainment. Please meet my guest, Aren Altman, the entertainment lawyer. Did I say it right, Aren?
You did, yeah.
Okay, you
the spelling is different, A-R-E-N,
yes.
But the pronunciation is
okay,
the same.
good, because the last thing I want to mispronounce your name. Well, welcome to the Viamia show. I'm very glad to have you here. I've never had anybody from your field. And what I was saying at the beginning, can you tell me why do we, or most of the people, find law boring?
It is. It's the fine print. I say to children, if they don't understand what I do, I say I write the fine print. It is, a lot of it is boring, but it's an attention to detail that is similar in many professions if you get down to that level. Mm-hmm. So there are lots of boring parts to it.
They're boring to you too?
Some of them, yes. But the context is what gives it importance. So in the entertainment field of law, it's the excitement of what our clients are doing that gives a lot of entertainment lawyers a passion for getting past the boring parts into helping a project move forward.
Aren Altman has also a website, arenaltman.com, and that's where we can find more information. Your office, you run your office a little differently.
I think so. There's a trend perhaps that will lead more people to want to practice in ways that are aligned with their values and have bliss in their practice. It's something that perhaps wasn't thought of as the common thing for lawyers. But I started my own practice 12 years ago, so I've been building an office that I like to work in and that I can attract staff that also want to work in, and is also hospitable for our clients.
Yeah.
So when you came to visit, a lot of people would come in and say, "This is not what I expected from a law office."
That's why I said that, because that was my impression when I sat down with you for a while, and it didn't. I don't think I've ever been to a lawyer's, probably not, office, and it's just, this is not what I expected, that's for sure.
Well, it's still a place we have to get work done, but we've modeled ourselves more upon the way our clients in the arts like to work, and that means a little bit of an open concept, still giving us enough privacy with our glass doors to give the privacy when needed, but otherwise, make it nice.
Yeah. Well, it's important. How did it all happen? Because I know we have some history in Altman law. Sorry, I called it that way.
Yeah.
That's a three generation.
It's
right?
three generations. So my grandfather started practicing in Manitoba in 1936, and he later practiced with my father in Vancouver, and my uncles also practice as well. So there was an Altman and Company at Pacific Center, which was the site of the Lyric building previously, and that's where my grandfather started his practice in Vancouver.
Okay, so, and then you took after your dad?
I took after my dad. I was called in 2003, but opened up my own practice right around that same time. So I've never formally practiced with anyone else. But it's a name that still carries a little bit of a nice reputation from my grandfather and certainly my father, who still practices.
Nice.
I have the opportunity of working with people who know him.
Yeah, I know that we introduced you as an entertainment lawyer. That's what you focus, but you also deal with business law.
Yes, I mean, entertainment law is not necessarily an area of law, but an industry focus for a business lawyer. So very shortly after I began my practice and became known from other lawyers, especially as someone who they could refer their entertainment matters to, I found from my clients and my close friends that it was important to still remind them that my firm can assist them with general business matters, like incorporating companies, leases, a variety of contracts, and other things that come up for owner-operated businesses.
What is more dominant, if you think about it? It's kind of
I
balanced?
have other lawyers in my office that I make sure are excited to do their work, and so I make sure that there's a lot of entertainment work that still comes in. It's a little bit more than half. There's a very vibrant startup culture in Vancouver, and for the last few years I've put a considerable amount of focus also on making sure that creative entrepreneurs were able to find legal counsel when they might otherwise have put their limited startup capital to other things. Because it really makes a difference to have that background.
Well, you know, the potential clients of yours, I'm sure they make some research before they come to see you. It's pretty natural procedure. Do you have to know something, or do you have to know about your clients?
Yeah, I mean, that's perhaps one of the best parts about having my own practice, is that I get to choose who I work with. And that sometimes is even more important than the area of law. In terms of satisfaction. But I will typically get a call, as I did this morning. I want to know something about the client. We must always check for conflicts, that we haven't acted against or acted for someone that's on the opposite side of a matter for them. So that's a law society requirement. But I also want to make sure that we're gonna not have problems working with the client. On the positive side, we want to make sure that it's
exactly.
It's
it can
nice,
be just the chemistry, for example.
Yeah, I always want to meet them face. You know, there's certain legal requirements to identify your clients, but this is as an aside. We want them into the office. I'd like to meet them face to face. There's always an opportunity to do that, even when most of the work that we'll end up doing in the future will be remotely through email and telephone.
So this is kind of giving me some indication that you probably turned some potential clients down.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah. And do you have to give them your explanation? Do you have to tell them your reason? No,
it's not that. It's not that common. There's usually a distinct reason why, and I don't have to tell them exactly if there was such a reason. I've only really had to fire a client once or twice, and that's mainly because there was such a breakdown in the communication that they weren't being honest with me, and I can't represent somebody if they're not open to that relationship.
Why? Tell me one thing. Why all those legal documents are so complicated?
They're trying to address complicated things. It's enough to get somebody started, to have a basic idea what they're after, what their expectations are of another party, or what what they're expecting to get out of a deal. It takes a careful read and some drafting by lawyers to make sure that what if all of the foreseeable things that could happen and have historically happened can be addressed, so that a client doesn't walk into a scenario that could have been dealt with properly. That now, because it's the contracts or their paperwork doesn't provide that assistance, their whole project is at risk and maybe for nothing. So it's complicated, but by necessity, we do a lot of our effort with our clients is to make it simpler. So it doesn't have to be as complicated as you've seen, but there's a level that we just can't do our job and still.
Well, that's why
still
they
make
have you, so you can explain it, right?
Right. I mean, so a basic service that I would offer to a client is they'll have been presented with a document about a project, call it a film or a music project, that's bigger than they have typically done. The paperwork seems to be now more important, and for the first time they'll call a lawyer. And my first clients were people, one was in the television business, who just wanted me to read the contract for them to make sure that they understood it.
Yes.
And there may be no room for negotiation, but usually there's a little bit. I'm very happy with the first level of service, just being to make it understandable and clear,
Exactly.
clear English.
Yeah. So I guess even for you, the practice of law, it's constant learning.
Absolutely, that's why they call it maybe a practice. It's
Yeah.
something we get better at. And there's other aspects that I'm always working on in terms of always being up to date with new areas of law, where the law is being formulated is always something of a great interest and importance to keep up with. But also as a business owner, I want to make sure that my business is efficient, that my clients are treated VIP status.
Yeah.
They should feel that we're there for them, and that's exciting too. Something I'm always updating.
Well, it's good to keep your mind keep going. I mean, the rest of the world, I think the life is a process of learning all the time, right? We want to keep it that way. In terms of your clients, do you think that they follow your advice, and how much do they follow?
They still have to pay even if they don't follow the advice. They mostly do. If I've done my job well, but there are circumstances where they don't, and I want to encourage them to make up their own minds. So it's not like I've said do this and they do the opposite. It's more that I'll present them with what would be the strongest way to advance their legal interest.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them sometimes that they don't need to include all of those points in their contracts if it's going to make the other side upset, if it's going to make it too long, or if it doesn't fit with something else that's also important to them about their threshold for risk or their history with the other party. Any of the other factors, business considerations, are always relevant for people to take into account. And if the legal issues aren't determinative, that's okay. And I would actually prompt a client to say, I'll just tell you what's in your best legal interest, and you can then decide what you're ultimately going to do. So,
we were talking to Aren Altman, who is the entertainment lawyer. We will step in a short break, and after that, we're going to start to talk about the entertainment.
The Viamia show is sponsored by the following people.
Recording, rehearsal space, voiceovers, video editing in Westminster. For more information, fiascobros.com. Cuts and colors in Uptown Westminster. We welcome our stylist, George of Salon Caliente. For appointment, call 604-544-5104. Private investigations, security and alarm systems since 1972. For more information, call 604-251-2121. Makeup services for television, movie, and photo shoots. For more information, visit victoriawan.com.
You're watching Viamia, and my guest today is entertainment lawyer Aren Altman, and we were discussing law in a general way, but I would like to step now, if you don't mind, to entertainment. I'm very interested because it's my favorite topic, and like entertainment entertainers, what do they usually looking for when they reach?
One of the first things that they're looking for is creators are looking to protect their idea. So that's somebody who has an idea for usually something in television or film. It could also be some music, and they're concerned as they're starting to share it with other people and make it into a full-blown production, that no one's going to steal their ideas. So that's one of the things. And as they move forward through to actually realizing on that project, it's very important that everyone who participates has signed off on something, so that you walk away with a product that meets the artistic vision, but also is sellable because it's got the right paperwork.
You know, I was thinking now, the tribute artists, their businesses are booming. There's a lot of cover tunes coming back to our attention, bringing good music of their era back. Do they ever reach you? Do they talk to you about what they can do? Like my question would be probably, because I was wondered about people performing, paying tribute to another artist live or broadcast it on TV. Do they have to pay royalties? Do they have to have a license?
You can make a cover of somebody's music, but if you're the tribute bands have specific requirements, and our firm acts for a couple, and I have some friends that do that type of work as well. So they can be quite lucrative. Those groups who do well as a tribute band, they should be very careful though where it's being presented. So just playing a cover song is not what you're talking about. If you're actually going to dress up and call yourself a look-alike or sound-alike band.
So if they perform live on TV,
yes,
they should be licensed.
They should be. Yeah.
Okay. And if they perform live for like an event where they charging to come in, it's the same thing.
Same thing.
Okay. So these are things I didn't know. So even though the fundraising and stuff, they are not.
Yeah, fundraising opportunities. That's one of the best places for people to perform. So
because there's a great exposure.
Yeah, just because it's a charitable event doesn't change legal requirements.
So I'm just wondering if I like to sing as well. I perform as well. I was wondering if I would like to get event. I would like to perform in the States, for example. How do I get the permit?
It's challenging when you deal with immigration issues because there's so many people that are trying to work in the States, specifically in California. So you really need to have that worked out beforehand. You don't just present yourself at the border. I mean, we know that many clients will go down to look for work and don't necessarily get into any trouble, but the consequences of not having proper authorization to enter and work in the States is that you can be banned from the country for up to 5 years just by the Border Patrol, so or being flagged, which can last almost forever. So we always pass those matters through to our colleagues, whether they're U.S.-based immigration lawyers. That's quite a specific area, and we assist our clients to a point in making sure that when there's a production, that their immigration issues aren't going to be a problem.
So it's either me have to work on it, or maybe the organizer.
The organizer, if possible, yes, then they handle it for you. Yeah, of course. Then they handle it all for you, and as well with taxation issues become a concern on how you're being paid. So very common and good problems to have as people's reputations grow, that they attract an audience in the States, and there's a lot of great work there. But similarly, you have and because I'm based in BC, having our practice here means that we're seeing more production happening in Vancouver now, and therefore more people are coming here as opposed to.
Well, if the performers are tribute artists or any singers, if they address you from the different province, do they have different? There's different.
Technically, yeah.
Do you have to understand the other provinces?
It's an important part about my practice is to ensure that people are understanding the limits of what they can come to me for. So if there's areas outside of our industry focus and our experience to give professional legal advice, we always let our clients know. In fact, probably one of the most important things about the lawyer-client relationship is that the lawyer acts for the clients in their best interest. And that may mean admitting you don't know something, or that you're not the best place to get that information. And as a small law firm, it's very common for us to find those areas where our clients are most often in need of assistance, that are outside of our areas, and have great relationships with other firms and other professional advisors to make sure that they're covered and we're not stretching ourselves beyond what's in the client's best interests.
So when sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, when an issue, when if it were, for example, someone gets into a criminal law matter, we would pass those issues off in the same way that if they were into a car accident, we find that. Yeah. But they can trust in us that we're going to make the appropriate referral when necessary.
So there are people addressing you from different provinces in the States. I think you told me.
So we would find, I actually went to law school in California, and I'm a member of the State Bar of California, and another lawyer in my office, Jeff Young, is also a member of the State Bar. So we have to make sure that they understand we're giving our advice here in BC according to BC law, and only if we were to be called and insured in another jurisdiction would we end up giving them that advice. So if a client comes to us from Alberta, very often I'm getting calls from Alberta, we'd have to advise them that the scope of our advice can't be taken outside of British Columbia. Wow. And then if they choose, we have lawyers in other jurisdictions that can review the work.
So you
for
work
them as well.
with other.
We'd work with other ones as well. Yeah.
So this gives me another idea. When you talk about clients from different provinces or the states, your appointment's not based on a personal meeting only. Do you have? It's
a little bit complicated. Yeah, there was a concern some years ago in Vancouver about some real estate scams that took advantage of lawyers. And their identifying of their clients. So when a lawyer meets with a client, they must confirm their ID. It's no longer discretionary. And so after we've gone through that issue, if we can't meet a person in person, that means it has to go through another lawyer or notary so that they can confirm their identification. After that point, then we're on Skype, then I'm on phone, however I enjoy keeping track of the time zones and having clients overseas and around the world now. Yeah.
So that's what I would choose if I were you. Again, ArenAltman.com would be the place to look for Aren. We have only a few more minutes, and I know you are also in the business law, so maybe a couple questions. I know there are a lot of small businesses booming and opening in Vancouver. Did you notice as well? Do you feel that impact?
Absolutely. Yeah. The banks are now trying to attract smaller clients that I've noticed, and large law firms also can't turn away what otherwise were smaller businesses. They may be small only for a short time, so it's a good thing to focus on.
Does law change? Or just the way of practice?
No, the business landscape changes. I mean, the fact that that someone can have a great idea about a new product or a technology and very quickly find themselves funded and acquired. That's exciting. It hasn't perhaps been happening for too long in our history, but a lot hasn't changed. And from the law perspective, the law of contracts doesn't change.
Maybe because the high-paced lifestyle and the booming technology all this time, maybe we are the ones who creating more issues.
Sure. I mean, issues. I'm excited about issues that come up when, with regard to people's digital heritage. So, what happens to your digital rights when you pass away, and appointing an executor for those. I'm excited to what happens with CG technologies that can allow you to revive dead, even dead artists, and virtual reality will vary, or other immersive experiences are going to bring up a whole bunch of interesting legal issues, as well as drones and other technologies that we're seeing. The technology forcing new legal issues, but they'll likely find some guidance from issues that were addressed in the past, just applying them into the new scenarios.
Interesting. Aren, I would like to go back because I can see that time is going against us. We started with that you're the third generation of Altman law, and I'm just wondering that if you learned, and what did you learn from your grandfather?
Well, my grandfather unfortunately passed away when I was 18 years old, so I don't remember too much of, at that time in my life how we practiced law, but certainly I've learned from the example of how he behaved within his profession and his community, that he was considered a friend to so many people, and perhaps that's what guides me in my practice. Is I'm a professional friend to people, and I want to be able to help them. And there's a lot of times in this world where you don't know who you can turn to honestly tell them what your problems are, and what you don't know, and what you can't take care of. So I appreciate that that opportunity.
And would you be able to briefly say there's anything you learned from your father?
From my father's a systems man, so I know exactly how things are supposed to be done, how to record time, how to manage my practice, and I'm grateful to him for that.
Well, that's really great. I like, on the top of all this information, what I learned, all the stories, again, ArenAltman.com would be the place where we can find Aren. Aren, only one thing I'm going to ask you now, because this is the only way we have time for, to sign the Viamia
My pleasure.
Cup.
I see the spot.
Yeah, please find some spot, because soon it's going to be completely full. Thank you very much for watching Viamia, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.